Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome, welcome. Just going to give it a few moments for everyone to get logged in and then we will get started. Let's see. While you are logging in, if you want to drop into the chat where you are from, feel free. Let's see here. Make sure I have my chat settings set correctly. All right. Hi from Brooklyn. Hi, Kerry. Yes. Oh, hi from San Francisco. Wonderful. Excellent. Hello from DC. Wonderful. Yay. Okay, great. All right. Looks like that's tapered off a bit so we can get started. Oh, hello from Langley, Washington and Northern Virginia. Love to see folks turning in from all over. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. We are here to discuss this incredible book, Baking by Feel, by Becca Rea-Tucker. And we are also here with Kerry Diamond, who will be in conversation with Becca as well. We're very excited to have both of them today. I'll introduce myself. I'm Zoe Friesen. I'm the events manager here at Book Larder. Book Larder is a community cookbook store located in Seattle, Washington. So we do 100% cookbooks and food writing. And as you can imagine, we've been doing a lot of these virtual events for the last few years. We are starting to do some in-person events now as well, which of course is wonderful, but we're so excited to continue to do these virtual events where we can connect with authors and interviewers and viewers from all over. So these are really fun, and thank you so much for being part of it. Let's see, I'll give just a few brief notes before we get started. Let's see. Oh, this will be recorded and it will be posted up on YouTube within the next few days. So if you end up having to jump off and you miss the end and you want to rewatch it, or you'd like to share it with a friend or anything like that, it will be up there for you. And then let's see. So Kerry and Becca will chat, and then they're going to leave time for Q&A towards the end of the hour. So any questions that you have for them, make sure you go ahead and put those in the Q&A box so Kerry can see those. Of course, you're welcome to use the chat to chat with each other and things like that. But for questions for Becca and Kerry, go ahead and put those in the Q&A box. Okay, let's see. You can support the talk by purchasing a copy of Baking by Feel from Book Larder, and a big thank you to everyone who's done that so far. We do have book plate signed copies available, which is really exciting. And I will go ahead and drop that link into the chat so everyone can utilize that. And okay, without further ado, I will go ahead and turn it over to Becca and Kerry.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Zoe. Hi, Becca. How are you?
Hi, Kerry. I'm great. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. My name's Kerry Diamond. I'm the founder of Cherry Bombe. Cherry Bombe is a media and events platform that's all about women in and around the world of food. And that includes Becca. And Becca, I don't know you. We're meeting each other for the first time tonight. We just had a few minutes to chat earlier, but I have been such a fan from afar for a long time. And I'm very happy that we get to meet tonight, at least virtually. So it's lovely to meet you.
Yeah, I have been a huge fan of yours from afar as well. And I'm really excited to meet you and be here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, everybody, hi. It's so nice to meet you all and to see where everybody is from. We've got folks from all over the country, which is very exciting. Becca, congrats on this is your first book. Congrats on getting it out to the world. Cherry Bombe did a cookbook and it probably took about a decade off my life doing it. So congratulations. We'll hear a little bit about the process from you. But as some of you know, I hope all of you know, Becca's book is titled Baking by Feel: Recipes to Sort Out Your Emotions, Whatever They Are Today. So I thought we could make this a little bit more interactive. Since we're on a Zoom, it is nice to get to know each other a little bit better, even though we are separated by lots of geography. I would love to know, if you're up for it, in the chat, tell us what emotions you are feeling today in homage to the book's subtitle. I'm happy to go first. I'm definitely happy tonight because I love books and I love writers and feminism and technology that brings us together in positive ways. So happy is probably my first emotion. Then overwhelmed. Cherry Bombe has a big cookbook festival this weekend in Brooklyn. So any of you who are in the events world know that's a little, you know, events are overwhelming sometimes, but I'm also feeling a little nostalgic. You know, going through Becca's book, there were a lot of things that made me think of my grandmother. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, so those are my three emotions: happy, overwhelmed, and nostalgic. So if anybody else wants to share what they're feeling, just pop it in the chat. And Becca, I'm going to kick it over to you. What are you feeling today?
I'm feeling grateful today. I am really excited to be here and really, grateful for this opportunity. I also feel a little bit overwhelmed since this is the pub week of my book. And a third one, I don't know. I feel happy. Yeah, I'm happy right now.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So anybody who wants to share, go for it. So everybody can read and see how we're all feeling. But I hope everyone's feeling happy to be here tonight. I hope that's one of your emotions. So I do want to talk about, I've got a million questions for you. I'm just going to say that, but we are going to try to get this done within the hour. I want to start with, I have 3 questions for you that I'm dying to ask you. So we're going to jump around a little bit. You are based in Texas, in Austin, Texas. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So my first 2 questions: how in the world did you wind up in Texas? And how are you doing in Texas?
Yeah, so I came here because my husband is in a city and regional planning master's program. And so that's why we came here about a year and a half ago. And I like a lot of things about Texas. There are a lot of things that are challenging about Texas. The breakfast tacos are amazing. The politics are really hard, but I am grateful to be able to be a Texas voter. I just voted early a couple days ago. So that is a great part about it. And yeah, I'm just enjoying the ride for right now.
Next week is a big week in Texas.
It is.
Yeah, the whole country is watching that one. And then my next question is, you know, at Cherry Bombe, we pretty much get every cookbook sent our way, and it's a really wonderful thing. And I get to look at all of them and kind of see where the trends are. I was amazed when I found out you had a cookbook, because I didn't think any publisher would be brave enough to offer you a deal. So how did your cookbook come about?
It was hard to get a publisher to offer me a deal, to be honest. I wrote a proposal initially that was different from this book, and that didn't work. So then I just scrapped it and started new. And I'm really happy about that, actually, because this product is something that I feel really proud of and filled up by. So yeah, and then Harper Wave is who publishes my cookbook, and yeah, they are wonderful. They publish books about wellness and mental health, and some cookbooks as well. So it's a good fit for me.
Were you hoping to do something more political?
I wasn't. I actually went off on a new vein to do this because I don't know. I'm all about changing and going where you want to go, and that's okay. And this is where I wanted to go. I wanted to bring in this element of feelings and recipes, and yeah. So I think I'm actually happy with how it turned out.
And emotions can be political, as we know. I mean, you point out in the book that a lot of times when we talk about emotion, it's about fixing the emotions. It's not about really feeling and sitting in the emotion. Talk a little bit about that.
Right. And I think, my work with the Sweet Feminists is very external, and this book is more about the internal self. And I think people use cooking and baking as a way to process emotions anyway. We saw that in the beginning of COVID when people were baking all of that bread. And so I see this book as a roadmap for how to do that, basically.
Since we're talking about emotions, you organized the book by 5 emotional states. Can you tell us what they are?
Yes, so they are happy, mad, sad, anxious, and hopeful. And these are entirely my own creation. I based it on Robert Plutchik's Wheel of Emotions, and he has different categories. But when I laid out all of the emotions that I could think of that would fit in a book, I came up with those big bucket categories, and then within them, there are more distilled down, more specific feelings underneath.
I did not know about Robert, but I know about him now because I read your book and saw that information. I will say I did have a less intellectual reaction. My first two thoughts were Snow White, Smurfs, and the Pixar movie Inside.
Got it. I love that movie. I think
I
it's
love
a
that movie
wonderful
too.
movie. Yeah,
That is probably on my top 10 list of movies.
I know.
As
beautiful.
is Julie and Julia. We should probably take a moment just to acknowledge the passing, the Julie and Julia. That was very sad news this week.
Yeah, I'm
To
sorry to
anybody
hear
in the food world and the writing world. And but Pixar movie Inside. I had to look up the 5 emotions in
Yeah.
Inside. Bonus points if anybody knows them off the top of their head, you can put that in the chat. But those 5 states are joy, fear, anger, disgust, and sadness. So I was happy that you had hopeful in yours.
Yeah, and it's at the end of the book. We're ending on an uplifting note.
Mm-hmm.
I think those might be the categories that Robert Plutchik has from that movie.
Oh, really? So
Might
they based it on that in the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, I need
Yeah.
to do some more homework on that. So Becca, let's talk a little bit about you biographically. Where were you born and raised?
Yeah, so I am from Kansas City. I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, but I grew up in Kansas City.
Oh.
I went to college in Iowa, and I moved to DC right after college and stayed there until I moved to Texas.
Mm-hmm. And what were you like as a child? Do you remember any acts of feminism from when you were young?
I was a very curious child, and I would always say what I thought. I think that was valued in my family, having opinions, and it was nurtured, and so I think I've always been like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have any early baking memories?
I do. My earliest baking memory is making chocolate chip cookies with my grandma. And I remember licking the beaters and that being just, a wonderful experience. And I think she made these chocolate chip cookies like every week for, 40 years or whatever. But that's my earliest memory.
Yeah, I love nothing more than licking the beaters.
Yep.
And I still use a hand mixer. I know
I have one. When I need to be portable, I use it.
Yeah, I've had mine for a really long time. I think I have employees who are younger than my hand mixer. But I don't know. I love something about the hand mixer, and I know everybody, lusts after the KitchenAid mixer. But I do
one sensory experience. I mean,
well, exactly, and that's such a big part of your book, and
right.
That's obviously in the title of your book. But yes, the licking of the beaters, that's such a big memory from childhood. Did I read that your grandmother lived in Wichita?
She does, yes.
Is your grandmother still alive?
Jane.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yes.
What's her name?
Jane.
Jane. Oh, and Jane's in Wichita.
She is, yes.
Okay. I don't know how old everyone is who's tuning in, and Becca, I don't know how old you are either, but Wichita obviously has a complicated relationship with abortion and abortion rights. And I remembered it, and I had to look up the information, but it kind of started the summer of 1991 with some abortion protesters who just flooded the city and really just complicated things for a very long time politically there. Do you think did that have an impact on you?
I knew that story growing up in Kansas and from the Kansas side of Kansas City. So yes, I always grew up with knowing that story. I'm 30, just as an aside.
That's a big milestone to hit 30. So congratulations. And to have a book when you turn 30, that's a nice thing also to have accomplished. But I guess what I'm asking is just having grown up in and around Wichita, and having had your grandmother there who, means so much to you. Do you think any of that kind of rubbed off on you and the activist that you became?
Sure. So I think, yes, like I come from a lot of strong women on both sides of my family. They all are opinionated and, well informed. And I always grew up around women like that. So yes, but I would say my pro-abortion activism started more after my own abortion when I was in college. So I would say that's the kickoff. But then it took me a long time to even talk about my abortion story. It took me many years. But through the Sweet Feminist, I sort of figured out how to talk about it and really felt empowered by that and loved hearing other people's stories. And yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the Sweet Feminist in just a minute. But so you identify today as an artist and a baker. When you were in college, did you envision a career path for yourself, and what was
No, I don't think I knew where I wanted to
that?
go in college. My path sort of solidified after I left. And I was running a food blog on the side, like I was starting to write recipes. It was called Flowers in Your Hair, like flower. And then
Oh.
I was working like in the nonprofit world, but I decided I wanted to be in the food world. So I took a job at a bean to bar chocolate company called Chocotanango. It's delicious. The chocolatier Ishmael is amazing. And I learned a lot from that experience. And then I went to work at Baked and Wired, which is a wonderful bakery in DC. If anyone is looking for a bakery in DC, that's the one. Yeah. And so it just sort of was a winding path for me, starting off in my, just personal time and then trying to move into my professional life as well.
I listened to some of the podcasts that you've done, and on one of them you talked about during college, you lived in a house called Food Hall.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wanted to go to college where you could live in a place called Food Hall.
Yeah. It was a huge house. Yeah, huge house. We had 2 fridges. I think like 20 people lived there and 2 people cooked dinner every night. And so you only had to cook one night a week, but you ate every night of the week, and you had to do dishes one night a week too. But I was surrounded by all these people that were much better cooks and bakers than I was. And so I had the opportunity to learn a lot there. And there's so many birthdays. If there's 20 people living in one house, there's a birthday like every 2 weeks. So there was always a lot of cake as well.
Did you have to apply to live in Food Hall? How did one get
so.
in there?
I think there was some kind of application process, but I think it was a self-selecting group. I don't know if it was people were fighting to get in. You could come and eat. If you didn't live there, you could still come and eat.
Oh, that's nice. I had these sort of Harry Potter visions of Food Hall and like a magical food hall and, people, I don't know, flying frying pans, things like that.
It felt kind of like that.
Do you think Food Hall helped sort of unlock something?
I do. I think I learned to bake and cook more creatively there. There weren't a ton of recipes going on. It was sort of just people experimenting, and it had to be, relatively cheap because we would pool our money to go get groceries. So people had to be pretty inventive. And yeah, I do think that gave me the confidence to sort of cook and bake that way.
But how wonderful. What a wonderful sense of community, and to have that in your college years.
Yes, it was wonderful.
Yeah. Did everyone do the chores equally?
Yes, I would say so, because you were assigned a day, so you had to do it. And if you didn't do it, it would be like, what? There's dishes in the sink, like you have to do it.
I did like your dedication, and I was very happy to read that your husband does dishes.
He does most of the domestic work in our house, including the dishes. So I'm very, very grateful for that, because otherwise I would just have a pile, that's out there.
Happy to hear that, because that is not usually the case.
Yes.
So I want to talk a little bit about the Sweet Feminists. So you founded the Sweet Feminists in 2018. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about the evolution of it?
Sure.
Is it something that came to you like in a lightning bolt, or was this an evolution?
Yeah, so I was living in DC, which, there's a lot going on politically in DC in 2018. And I wanted an outlet, and I thought about, what do you already do? And I already made cakes, and I knew how to write on cakes. And so I decided to use that as a medium, because I think you can use anything as a medium, and that just happened to be mine. But it started out as an anonymous project. I didn't have my name on it for a while, and then it evolved and got much bigger than I anticipated, and I sort of claimed it as mine. And along the way, it's sort of narrowed down to a lot of pro-abortion content. I've decided to sort of focus on one thing. In the beginning, it was much broader, and I still talk about, other things as well, but I decided to focus in on that as it evolved.
And was Instagram always the platform?
It was, yes.
Okay. And So what did you think the reaction was going to be?
I don't know. Like in the beginning, I was posting less controversial things. Like I had, feminist as fuck on there, and lots of people can.
That's
can
still a
get
popular one.
that. Yes, it's still popular. So I think I was just surprised about the scale as more people started following it. It got more unmanageable, I would say, but now it's just sort of quieted down into this is the community of people that are here at the Sweet Feminist, and that's a more comfortable place to be, I would say.
Okay. In the beginning, were you doing it for you, or were you doing it to try to find a community out there?
Yeah, I was trying to find a community. I was trying to plug in somewhere. It was for me as well, but yeah, I was looking for something for sure.
Because it's funny, 2018 wasn't that long ago, but in terms of what this country went through, it was, it felt like a lifetime. So you probably never could have envisioned the awful turn things were going to take.
Right.
In terms of
Kavanaugh hearings were around the beginning of the Sweet Feminist. There was just, a lot going on.
Yeah. 2018, there was definitely a lot going on.
Yeah.
Did you ever envision it would find the audience it found?
No, I didn't really have an expectation going into it. I wasn't sure what it would look like. But it did, it found the people it needed to find for the most part, and some people that it, really pissed off. There's that too. But I have decided to focus on the people that want to be in the community and, engaging with them.
Yeah. You mentioned that it helped you come to, oh, my cat, I knew she would make an appearance at some point. You mentioned that it helped you come to terms with your own abortion and talking about it. Can you explain how through cake and Instagram?
Yeah, I remember when I posted I had posted pro-abortion content before, pro-choice and cake. I had things like that. But I do remember the first time that I shared that I had had an abortion and started talking about that. And it felt like this really intense thing for me, which is funny now because.
Sorry, my cat, you're having very serious.
No, that's okay.
I feel like my cat is being this freaky little thing sitting, staring over my shoulder. I'm sorry.
No, she's cute. But as I started sharing, it became a lot easier. And, I'm really grateful that people have also shared with me, because when I had my abortion, I only knew one other person that had had an abortion and talked to me about it. And so that was a very lonely place to be. And so what I've tried to do with my platform is ensure that as many people as possible do not feel alone. And I really work on destigmatizing abortion and making people who have abortions feel safe and supported, regardless of legality, regardless of what else is going on politically with it.
Well, thank you for the work you do in that respect. I mean, I really marvel constantly when I look at your Instagram account, how brave you are. That's always the word that comes to mind for me. And I've heard other people describe you as such. And brave is an interesting word. I doubt you wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and think like, I'm brave. But
thank you.
But your bravery is inspiring. So thank you for that. And I'm sure a lot of the folks with us tonight feel the same way. This is something else I heard you talk about in the podcast, but that you've gotten much better at the use of words that you can block on Instagram, because I noticed that the conversations become not calmer. You still get some heated conversation on your Instagram, but you get less of the awful things that you had to deal with in the beginning.
Right. And I've decided that I just am not going to argue with people. My work is for people who have abortions and empowering them to be able to talk to people who are anti-abortion if they want to. But that's not something that I choose to engage with on the Sweet Feminist anymore.
So you did in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I would yell at people in the comments, but that takes a personal toll as well. I was very angry and I would get I had all this anger trapped in my body. And so that wasn't great for me. But yes, blocking the certain words and comments and that's helped weed them out.
Yeah, we've had to do that on Cherry Bombe too, and
How do you? Oh, I'm
provides
sorry.
a bit of you know what, I'm happy that exists as an option, because it does weed out some of the ugliness, and it's a lot for someone like you to take on your shoulders. I mean, you are one person, it's you've got, I think a few 100,000 followers, so people might think there's more to the Sweet Feminist,
Yeah, I get
than
emails
one
like that
person.
sometimes. Hi, Sweet Feminist team. But yes, it's still just me right now.
Yeah. And I had to laugh. Someone asked you what the Sweet and Sweet Feminist was referring to, and was it you? And you said, no, I do not identify as
I
sweet.
don't. No, I don't. Yeah.
So the sweet
the
refers to the
case.
confections. Yes. Exactly. So, all right. So one of the things I wanted to ask, I would imagine, I can't imagine what your DMs are like. I mean, I know what ours are like. And I would imagine a lot of people reach out to you for help and direction. I think especially over the past few months, it's become overwhelming to know how to help, how to make a difference, what to do.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
people ask you how they can help and how they can make a difference? And if so, where do
Yeah,
you direct them?
they do. And I try to direct them towards organizations that are already doing this work, have been doing this work, because I think that's where people can be the most helpful rather than trying to invent the wheel, just because there are people that have been preparing for this moment. An organization I like to send people to is We Testify. They're an abortion storytelling organization, but they also do a lot of other workshops and campaigns and all kinds of other stuff. They're really great. And if you do need an abortion, you can always visit ineedana.com, because it's like a up-to-date resource that you answer 3 questions that are not personally identifying, and they can direct you to how to access abortion care no matter where you live in the US. So that's a really good resource.
Okay, good to know. Thank you for that. Okay, so we're going to switch gears dramatically, and we're going to talk about this cookbook. This might be the first conversation I've ever had about abortion and cake. So,
I know.
so
Yeah.
we're going to switch to the cake part of tonight's conversation. And folks out there, if you've got any questions as we're talking, I'm trying to keep an eye on chat in the Q&A box. We'll definitely have dedicated time later for questions if you have them, but happy to take some in the interim. Okay, so let's talk about all the recipes in this book. How did you decide which baked goods went with which emotions?
Yeah, so there are a few different ways. One is the most obvious one, where it's like a vibe thing. Lemon feels like a happy flavor to me, and so lemon cake is happy, but it could also be about the complexity of the recipe. So I have my salty brown butter caramels are paired with panicked, because making caramel is such an precise process that you have to be fully dialed into that moment. You have to focus and see when it turns to exactly 248 degrees. And if you are focusing on that sensory experience in front of you, it sort of takes away the power that feeling of panic has over you. It could be part of the process as well, like my black pepper snowballs. The dough is mixed entirely by hand. It's paired with vengeful, and so you're really getting in there and you're smashing the dough. Like there's no KitchenAid or spoon or anything. It's you doing it. So there's a few different ways of how they're paired.
That is, again, to go back to the hand thing, that is so underrated in terms of recipes. I really do think people need to put their hands in dough more than they do.
Right, because that's how you know if it's right, if you can feel it with your hands. I think about that with Swiss buttercream. Like my direction with making Swiss buttercream is you feel the egg white and the sugar, it's over a double boiler, and when you can't feel the sugar crystals between your fingers anymore, that's when it's ready. So something I try to do in this book is provide those sensory cues.
But I also think bringing like your whole self to it. You can't be on your phone when you've got your hands in dough, all the, you really have to focus, and I think you can find, this sort of peaceful place when you're using your hands.
You can get lost. You're absorbed in the present moment. And I think it's really hard to be in the present moment, for a lot of people, for me. And so this is a way to do that.
Absolutely. So how did you decide what recipes to include? Are these ones you've come up with? Are these family recipes?
Yes, so they are ones I've come up with. For the most part, they are riffs off of, some of them are riffs off of things my grandma makes. Like my grandma makes a butterscotch pie, so there's a butterscotch pie in here. Same with the chocolate chip cookies, but the recipe is different. Her butterscotch pie is made with pudding mix and it's delicious. But my version, we're actually making the pudding ourselves. So there are things like that. And other than that, I just sat down and wrote down flavor combinations that I was interested in and then tried to match them to, is that a cookie? Is that a cake? Like, what is that? Yeah.
The butterscotch those were the recipes that made me feel really nostalgic because
Yeah.
growing up, my grandmother didn't really bake, but we would always go out for ice cream.
Yeah.
And I would always get a butterscotch sundae.
Oh,
I don't know.
yum.
I feel like are kids into butterscotch anymore?
I don't think so. I don't think
Yeah.
they make those like butterscotch candies that I remember. I haven't
Oh
seen.
yeah, remember those? But I also liked butterscotch syrup on my ice cream.
I
So
like that too.
yeah, I'm sure you
Yeah.
can buy that somewhere or make it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so few questions regarding the recipes. What would you say is I know the cookbook's kind of different, like it's sort of based on emotion and you've called it choose your own adventure. So you can sort of bake by how you're feeling. But is there a kind of gateway recipe that you feel like if you can master this recipe, the rest of the recipes will be very comfortable for you to make?
I try to make all of them feel that way. I would say I would start with the cookies if you are unsure about the process. I know cakes can be intimidating. I know pies can be intimidating. So I would start with any of the cookies. My personal favorite recipe from the book is the maple cookies. I think maple is a really underrated flavor. And it's a thick, chewy cookie, which is how I think cookies should be. And it's got a little pinch of cayenne at the end to sort of wake up your tongue. So if you're looking to make one thing first, that's what I would do.
Oh, that sounds so good. Which recipe is the most personal to you?
I don't know what the most personal one would be. I don't know, maybe the chocolate chip cookies, just because that's so ingrained in my baking journey. It took me a lot of iterations to get what I wanted from that.
And which one do you think is going to be the most popular? Something always bubbles up. Like I remember with our cookbook,
Yeah.
I had an idea, but then we had a recipe for pink spaghetti and never thought that would take off. And that
Oh,
became
I want to try that.
it's
Sounds
a fun
amazing.
recipe.
Peanut.
Make it with raw beets and ricotta, but
Oh,
it literally stains the spaghetti all the way through. But I didn't think that was going to be the one that took off. Which do you think?
yeah, people seem to like the sour cream sugar cookies because they are modeled off of those cookies that you get at the mall. They're the same in any mall across the US. So they're paired with homesick, because they taste the same wherever you go. But people seem to be making a lot of those, just from what I can see that people are sending me. If I were to choose one thing, I would choose the pumpkin pie bars. That's my second favorite recipe. And with, fall and winter coming up, I could see that.
Flag that. You have a lot of things I might try for the upcoming holidays.
Yeah, because that one has it's what's traditionally on the top of a cheesecake, I guess, a sour cream topping, but it's on the pumpkin pie bars. You don't have to deal with making pie crust. It's just a shortbread base. So it's easy thing for Friendsgiving and that kind of thing.
The pie crust can be very therapeutic and
That's
frustrating.
Yes.
Two more emotions, right? Tell me what silk pie is. I had no idea what silk pie
Oh
is.
man, I don't know if this is a Midwestern thing, but French silk pie it's like a mousse, but it's thicker. It's more substantial. So it's almost always chocolate. And my version has some spices that I've added to it, but you can find it at most diners in the Midwest. It is my favorite pie personally. I made one today, actually, a new one.
Yeah.
And it's caramelized white chocolate French silk pie. So I have that in the fridge waiting for me.
Oh my gosh. I stupidly did not plan ahead. I really thought, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go get a cake and I'm actually going to write something on it.
Yeah.
And of course I ran out of time, but that was my goal. I'm going to have a little Becca Sweet Feminist moment.
Oh, that'll be nice.
Do my cake with some writing on it. And Julie, I feel you. Julie just wrote, now I'm feeling hungry. Same. Tell me what a pancake cake is. Never heard of that either.
Yeah, so it just tastes like a pancake. Reese, my husband, his dad makes blueberry pancakes. This is like his thing, and he adds like a lot of it's a mix, but he adds a lot of vanilla and a lot of blueberries, and it's really good. So this cake, it just tastes like what eating blueberry pancakes taste like. So the cake is maple, and there's some blueberry preserves in the middle, and then also in the frosting. So it really, I mean, if you close your eyes, you're like, okay, this could be a pancake.
And how about the batter? Is the batter pancake-like and you just bake it into a cake shape?
No, it's like a cake. It's like it has the texture of a cake. It's really just the flavor that is the pancake.
Okay. Because I was like, that's cool. Can you actually take pancake batter and make it?
I don't know if you could. I mean, probably. I think
We might have to try this.
yeah, I'll try it.
After your book tour, we're going to try to make, I don't know if anyone out there listening that are like, you can't do that, tell us, but it would be fun to try.
Yeah,
at least.
try it.
All right. And then carrot cream cheese bars. Walk us through this recipe, because those looked amazing. And I don't know, carrot cake is my favorite kind of cake.
Yeah, so these are kind of like a hybrid between a carrot cake and a cheesecake. I like to play with new textures. I know it sounds kind of weird. I know if you're looking at it, you're like, I don't know what that would be like, but I promise the texture works. It's got all the flavor of a carrot cake, but with the texture of a cheesecake. And we've got the shredded carrots in there. We've got pecans on the top. So it's got a lot of different textures going on, which is something that's important to me with my baking. I'm a texture person, I think.
Okay. And speaking of nostalgic, another one of your recipes that made me feel nostalgic was the cake, the cookie cake. Another mall classic.
Another mall classic, yes. But it's got a brown sugar Swiss buttercream on the top, so it's elevated a little bit from the mall. It's not the frosting that's, so sweet you might throw up.
Yeah, I did like I still, you know what, I'm very much an American buttercream person, much to the horror of my friends who are real pastry chefs. But that's okay.
If you like it, you like it.
True. So do you feel that you became, I'm guessing you tested all these recipes
did.
By yourself. You developed all the recipes and tested them. Did you feel like you were a better baker after the process?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm a much better baker than when I started writing the book. I have a system now. I'm not really a system person, but if you're going to write all 70 recipes, you need a system. And so that is helpful for me now as I'm writing new recipes. I'm like, okay, I've got the process down.
So explain that to me, a system. So you're not talking about like a mise en place.
Yeah, that is important as well. But no, I think I just have like, this is how I write my recipes. This is the language I'm using. This is the measurements I'm using, like the gram amounts for everything. It's just easier when you have all of that stuff already lined up.
Got it. And what are some techniques you feel like you mastered in the process?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'll think about it.
And do you bake every day?
Most days. Yeah, okay. I would say I make something most days. I have a lot of neighbors who are really wonderful here. And when we moved here, I was testing the cookbook in full force. So I would take all the leftovers over to them. That's how I made friends with our neighbors. So we have a lot of people willing to try things here, which is very nice.
That's good. That's especially good when you're doing a cookbook. Yes. I was the most popular neighbor in the building when I was testing our
Yes, I can imagine. I think I got better at candy making. I had to test the caramel recipe many times. And so that's a technique that I think I've gotten much better at and also really enjoy. I like making candy. Like I started making butter crunch toffee a couple of years ago as well. So I'm into the candy making. I know it can be intimidating because it's hot sugar. It's kind of scary. It's very precise. But that's something I like to do.
So Becca, how are some other ways folks can support you and engage with you in addition to Instagram, in addition to buying the book?
Sure. So I just started a Substack newsletter. It's called A Little Something Sweet. I'm excited about it because, I'm trying to find another avenue besides Instagram. Through writing this book, I realized that I, really like writing and the actual creative process instead of just visual content for the most part. And so, yeah, I'm doing this new newsletter. It comes out on Tuesdays. It has a recipe every week. It has an abortion affirmation. I do this thing called Sunday Secrets. I don't know if you've seen that on Instagram, where people submit secrets and I share them anonymously. So I share ones that didn't make it in the newsletter, and pictures of my dog. So there's a little bit of everything in the newsletter. If people are, interested in seeing that.
I've seen the dogs on Instagram.
Yes.
You have 2 dogs, right?
Just one, Otis, but
Just one.
he has different personalities. I mean, it could be 2 dogs.
Or just the pictures look different.
Very wild. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got the Substack. It's going to come out. Did it start yet?
It started, yes.
It started. Okay.
Yes.
So out
3.
Okay, so out every Tuesday. You've also got some merch. People might not realize that. I did not realize that on your shop.
Yes, I make a lot of pro-abortion stuff. I also make ornaments that look like cakes in holiday time. So I will be doing that this year.
And you've got some keychains that I'm going to buy for some friends.
I do,
yes. Some stickers and some great things. One of the things I just wanted to talk to you about also is, this every year seems to get more and more complicated. And I feel like you really have, I don't know, just sort of this insight that maybe the rest of us don't have, because people, I think they're willing to feel vulnerable around you. And, like we've talked about, people are DMing you. So I'm just curious if you had to sort of give us a read on how people are feeling today, based on what you see.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are fired up after Roe fell. I think people became a lot more engaged. And we saw that happen in my home state of Kansas, when people voted to protect the constitutional right to abortion. And I am hoping that there's going to be a lot more of that. So that's what I would say. I know there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of despair. I mean, there's that, but there's also just, I think, a drive to help each other and figure it out, which I'm really appreciative of.
And you talked about how you protect yourself. You said that you used to engage heavily in the early days, less so now, but that you've also been able to weed some of those folks out. How are you taking care of yourself these days?
I go on walks with Otis. That helps me, just being in the real world. I also have started not looking at my phone until I have breakfast, until after breakfast, which is very hard for me to do. Like I'm on my phone a lot. But yeah, I've started just waking up and putting my little blanket around me and meditating for 5 minutes, and then getting up, doing my things without my phone in my hand. So this is the first couple months of that. So still figuring it out, not every day, but that's something I'm probably trying to do.
Best advice I've heard in a really long time.
Thanks.
So what's next for you, Becca?
I am working on a second concept for a book, and working on that. I'm writing recipes for my blog, and just trying to see where it goes. But I'm enjoying this baking and wellness mental health space, and so I would like to try to stay there, do more work there.
All right, I see we have a question, so let's jump to this and then I'll ask you a few more before we run out of time. This is from Erica. Hi, Erica. I'm not sure where you're writing in from. Erica made your fruity pebble crust pie with the cherry filling.
Wow.
It was so good, and a visual feast as well. Is that recipe in the book?
That recipe is not in the book. I made that after the book already went in, but I do like that recipe as well. It's naturally purple because it's made with cherries. And so it's, fruity pebbles crust. I think I called it pie for breakfast pie, something like that, but it does taste like,
before you look at your phone.
It's like a pudding pie. So it's like cereal milk and fruity pebbles.
Yum.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I would have remembered if I saw a fruity pebble crust pie. How do you make the pie crust out of fruity pebbles?
You crush them, and then you put butter, and I think I put a little bit of cinnamon as well, and then you just press it into the pan. Oh my gosh. It's good. Yeah.
That's fun. And visually, yes. And like Erica said, a visual feast. That's really fun. All right. If anybody has any more questions, we do have, okay. Oh, Ben Morris said, hi, Becca.
Hi.
And Erica said she's from Seattle. So Erica probably knows Book Larder pretty well. So what else can we talk about? What are your plans for the holidays?
I'm staying here.
Yeah.
I usually like to host a big Thanksgiving, like hosting Thanksgiving is my thing that I like to do, but I'm actually going to my neighbors this year. So don't have to do any work, which is great.
Does everyone expect you to bring the baked goods?
Yes. Although they're all talented chefs and bakers as well. So if I didn't, it would be completely fine.
Austin is a great food city. I'm sure you're surrounded by.
Yes.
By that. Ben has a question about Otis. Does he get to be a tester for some of the recipes? And do you have any dog treat recipes?
I don't have any dog treat recipes, but that is something that I am interested in. Otis really likes sugar and butter. It turns out, like, if I leave a butter wrapper, like, he's like, that's mine. He did get some whipped cream from my pie that I made earlier today, which he seemed to really enjoy. One time I wasn't watching him and he ate an entire bowl of sprinkles that I was using for like a prop or something.
That's no good. Otis.
Yeah, it was not great for his stomach, but
funny.
Yes, he definitely has a sweet tooth.
Okay, I'm with Otis on that one. Do you have any advice for folks who, who see what you do? Again, going back to what I said, like I am just so blown away by your bravery. Do you have any advice for people who would like to maybe be more outspoken or maybe be a little bit more honest with their feelings? I was talking to somebody I interviewed, I guess it was a few weeks ago, and she said to me, in regards to my Instagram, which is nowhere near as powerful as yours, she said, I like your Instagram because I feel like you get to say things that I can't say because of my job.
I see.
And I feel
like I get that as well. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. There is a lot of limitations on people that maybe I don't have. But I would say just if people, are arguing with you, then you're saying something important. And I do get people who say, I shared your cake and then I had all these people, in my family yelling at me about it. And I know that can be really hard. And I mean, you don't have to have these conversations on the internet. You can be, outspoken in your daily life, and like showing up to support your people in your daily life is enough. You don't need to do it on the internet if that's not something that's comfortable for you.
Yeah. And Becca, you're a hero to so many of us. Who are your heroes?
Oh, Kerry, you're putting me on the spot. I don't know. I can't think of anything. I'm blank. I have so many, but I'm blanking. Ask me something else and I'll come up with it.
We'll let you answer that on your Instagram account. And then whose cookbooks do you love, since we're talking about cookbooks and we're
I love Sarah Kiefer's 100 Cookies. I think it's so approachable and so delicious. I'm really excited about a book that is coming out, that came out, I think maybe the same day as mine, and it's The History of America Through 11 Pies. I can't remember the author, but I downloaded that to my Kindle and I'm very excited.
Zoe, if you know that book, share it with everybody in the comments.
Yeah.
And who else do you love?
I started learning to cook from Deb of Smitten Kitchen. That was my entry to cooking, so I have a soft spot for Deb in my heart. I also love collecting community cookbooks because it's an example of people using cooking and baking as a way to fundraise for communities and movements, and so I really like collecting those. There's some really good older nostalgic stuff in there, and I think I'm drawn to sort of reworking nostalgic recipes. So yeah, I would say.
What does your grandmother think of the Sweet Feminist?
She is proud. Yes, she is proud of the Sweet Feminist. She's proud of the book, and I am grateful for her influence and helping me to get where I am.
Sweet Land of Liberty, A History of America in 11 Pies. Okay,
that one. Yeah, I'm very excited
about that one. I'm gonna have to put that on my list to read. There's so many good books out right now. It's
there are.
it's a great moment for cookbooks. And
Yeah.
and I will say yours fits in so beautifully with the books that are out right now because it's so unique in its approach. And I just love the fact that you talk about emotion and you talk about doing things by hand. That's
Yeah.
something that I think gets left out of a lot of cookbooks and a lot of food writing today.
Yeah, I do have a hero that I came up with. I love Nora, who writes about grief. I can't remember her last name,
Mhm.
but she is amazing. She is so genuine, so authentic. She also has a podcast. What is her last name? She was really inspiring to me while I was writing this book about showing up authentically with emotions and being able to hold space for other people's emotions as well.
Okay. Zoe, I'm going to make Zoe do our fact checking for us. If you can look that up and share that as well, I would love that.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up.
Becca, you know what my dream event is with you? And maybe you've
What?
done this before, but where everybody bakes a cake, you walk us through how to decorate it and how to write on a cake.
Uh-huh. Yes, I was doing workshops right before COVID,
Yeah.
and we did that. We made cakes together. So I provided the cakes and the frosting, and everybody decorated together and wrote different phrases on the cakes. And then we talked about, oh, this is important to you. Can you teach me about that? So that was really amazing.
Have you done some virtual workshops?
I have been doing like bake-alongs. I've done one virtual workshop during since COVID, but I do bake-alongs. And
Tell me what a bake along is. Everybody bakes.
Yeah, I started doing it during COVID, and so I'd get on Instagram Live and I would talk while I was making something, and other people would make that recipe as well. We did it with my brownies, which is my most popular recipe, my brownie recipe.
Okay.
And that's on my blog and in the book. So yeah, we would do that a lot in the beginning of COVID. How do you sign up for Bake Along? Someone asked.
Yeah.
You don't have to sign up. I just will tell you about it on Instagram in my newsletter, and you just show up at the time. And yes, you don't have to sign up.
And it's Nora McInerney, host of the
Yeah.
podcast. That's a good podcast title. Terrible. Thanks for asking.
Yes, she is wonderful.
Well, I have to say, I don't feel terrible right now. I feel very, again, like I said earlier, I feel very happy, and I'm just so thrilled to have gotten to know you a little bit better, Becca.
Oh,
You're such an inspiration to us and the Cherry Bombe community. You are brave, you are wonderful, and thank you for putting this beautiful cookbook out into the world.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and talking to me about all of this. I'm so grateful. And yeah.
And I hope we get to meet in person one of these days.
Me too. We got to make that happen.
Yes, we absolutely will. And everybody out there, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate this, and thank you for supporting Becca and for supporting Book Larder. They're both really important folks.
Yes,
and
thank
entities
you
to
so much,
support.
everybody, for being here.
Thank you so much, both of you, for being here today. This was such a wonderful conversation. And Becca, if I didn't say it earlier, I love that you combine, the sort of traditionally feminine act of baking with the, modernly feminine act of being feminist and, being a really strong activist for women's rights, especially reproductive rights. So that combination to me just has a certain particular magic that feels really special and really, really empowering. So thank you for your work.
So much to me. Thank you.
I'm a big fan and a huge fan of Cherry Bombe as well. So it's such an honor to have both of you on.
I know this is like a dream for me to be here talking to Kerry. I'm like, oh my God.
Absolutely.
Well, right back at you. So
me too. It's been such a delight. I was like, I really think I need to make the delighted recipe after this, because that's how
I have a whole list of things I need to make after this. I was dying going through the book. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Even just like the plain old white cake really spoke to me too. So it's such a special book. Congratulations again. It's a really wonderful book. I'm very excited to bake from it. And thank you so much for everyone who joined us today as well. Just a really wonderful event. So thank you to everyone and have a wonderful night.
You too. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.